The massively successful Game of Thrones series ended on May 2019, and while the series as a whole transcended pop culture, the ending of Game of Thrones left some fans either wanting for more, or left them swearing to the Seven Gods, New Gods, and the Lord of Light himself that it was by far the worst ending to any TV show franchise out there. But here we are, more than 3 years later, since we saw the finale where Jon Snow stabbed Daenerys and the kingdoms were miraculously saved from the White Walkers. Shout out Arya Stark. Yes, it is time for a spin-off, and this time we are focusing on the history of the Targaryen bloodline, aka the House of the Dragon. Coming into this new show was also a mix of hype and skepticism that HBO is just making a spin-off for the money grab. But who cares? I mean, aren't all spin-offs money grabs to start off with? We're getting more Game of Thrones content, that's what truly matters. Regardless, we're going to break down the first episode. I'll give you my thoughts and opinions, as well as go over some awesome Easter eggs that you may have missed. What's up everyone, this is Brandon, and welcome to TV Wow. Before we begin, do me a favor and smash the like and subscribe button so you'll get more videos just like this one. Also, let me know down in the comments what your thoughts were with the first episode. Be warned that all juicy details will be spoiled here, so don't watch if you haven't seen episode 1 just yet. But on your way out, be sure to click the like button. Let's get started. The first episode starts off with a flashback after 100 years of Targaryen rule. We meet Jaehaerys Targaryen, who's sick. He's got 10 dragons at his disposal and 2 dead sons. Setting the stage was a council meeting choosing who should become heir to the throne. Here we only see 2 viable candidates for the Iron Throne: Rhaenys Targaryen, who is Jaehaerys' oldest daughter, and her youngest cousin, Prince Viserys, who's the oldest male descendant. Now, because of a whole lot of testosterone and the patriarchy, Prince Viserys becomes king. Now, this flashback was foreshadowing the main plotline on how Season 1 will turn out. A super bloody fight for the Iron Throne. Sound familiar? That's always been the main storyline, but it feels pretty different this time around as we focus more on the Targaryen family and their internal familial struggles. Now, flashing forward 9 years into Viserys' reign as king, we meet his daughter Rhaenyra, her dragon Syrax, his wife Queen Aemma, Alicent Hightower, who is Rhaenyra's best friend, and also the daughter of Ser Otto Hightower, who's Hand of the King. There's also Prince Daemon Targaryen, Rhaenyra's uncle and brother of King Viserys. I know, it's complicated already, but hopefully House of Dragons does a better job of limiting the amount of characters to follow on the show. But the first Easter egg would have to be one of the show's anti-hero, or who's being set up to be the show's anti-hero, and that's Prince Daemon. With his long white hair, addiction to violence, and his frequent thirst for brothels, there's a slight resemblance of personality to Jaime Lannister. Jaime, of course, went through one of the best character arcs in the original Game of Thrones series, but one of the main differences is Daemon is actually commander of the City Watch, where he already has a small army who follows him maniacally. Daemon also cares about his family and is super close with Rhaenyra, so close that he gives her a super expensive family heirloom in a scene that makes us wonder if Daemon remembers he's her uncle. Now, unfortunately for Daemon, he's not as uncomfortably close to the council, especially Otto Hightower, with who Daemon has a rivalry and history, which I'm sure they'll explore more of their past in future episodes. Now, Daemon also wants to be king, but in order to do that, he's going to need to play the role of a Kingslayer, yet another similarity to Jaime Lannister, and slay his brother. It's also worth noting that Daemon wears a gold cloak, another Easter egg. This gold cloak is also a reference to the City Watch in Game of Thrones. In this early version of the gold cloaks, they punished thieves, rapists, and beheaded and castrated murderers, so I guess they're really not too different from the main show. Now, there's a scene between Rhaenyra and Alicent where Rhaenyra is casually laying on Alicent's lap and they're supposed to be studying together. In the background, you can actually see an Easter egg with the weirwood tree fully flushed with red leaves. They're also studying the history of a lady named Nymeria. Nymeria, of course, was the name of Arya Stark's direwolf in the main show. Alicent asks Rhaenyra when Nymeria arrives in Dorne, who does Nymeria take as her husband? Playfully, Rhaenyra would rather talk about something else, but later on knows the answer, showing her wit and intelligence, and also the strength of her friendship with Alicent, which I'm sure will be tested later on. Now, King Viserys and Queen Aemma are expecting a baby, and King Viserys is almost confident it'll be a boy. Queen Aemma has said that she's had 5 dead babies in the past 2 years because of miscarriages and stillbirths, so this last one is actually going to be her last one because she's tired and feels sorry for her husband and king because she's not delivered a future heir. There's some foreshadowing for you. Now, in today's age, we celebrate a baby through baby showers and gender reveal parties, but in King's Landing, they throw violent jousting tournaments, because that's how it should be done. Now, we see the jousting tournament leading up to the introduction of Criston Cole, who defeats 2 Baratheon brothers in the tournament. Now this manly show of smacking each other with big sticks on horseback causes Alicent and Rhaenyra to have the hots for Prince Daemon, who's just winning all of his matches with ease and looking dope as hell in his dragon armor. But in a joust between Cole and Daemon, Criston emerges the victor, and Daemon, being frustrated and humiliated with the loss, extends their fight to a sword duel, in which Daemon ends up reluctantly succeeding to Criston after getting knocked on his ass a second time. One of the cinematic wonders of House of the Dragon that they do really well in episode 1, much like in the original Game of Thrones series, is their ability to simultaneously go back and forth between the climax of each storyline. In this case, it was the fight between Daemon and Criston, and Queen Aemma giving birth. The birth scene has made social media go into a bit of a frenzy, as it was pretty graphic and a very detailed account of childbirth. But in the end, because of the difficulties with Queen Aemma giving birth, the council ends up recommending the king perform a Game of Thrones style C-section. But it was more of a cutting into the stomach of Queen Aemma and grabbing the baby type deal. This kind of thing was far more likely to just kill her, leaving a really small chance to save the baby. However, we soon learn that King Viserys has one of the worst days of his life, as his wife and male son don't survive the pregnancy. Now that's pretty dark, so here's an Easter egg to lighten the mood a little bit. The would-have-been king was going to be named Balon Targaryen, which is strikingly similar to Balon Greyjoy. Yeah, the same guy who Sansa Stark fed to his own dogs, which by Game of Thrones standards is truly peak humor. Right after the funeral, the council has to discuss who will become heir to the Iron Throne, because that's the most important thing on the show. The council discusses that if anything happens to the king, there will be no leader in place. By the way, the king has a gnarly yellow and gooey infection on his back that looks like it's getting worse with every passing moment. Anyways, the council discusses who should take over, and Daemon, by law and blood, should be able to take his seat as rightful heir to the throne. However, the council are very anti-Daemon, especially the Hand of the King, Otto Hightower, who states that he's a brute, doesn't know how to lead, and will direct the Seven Kingdoms to ruin. This discussion is of course overheard by Daemon himself while eavesdropping in the other room. I mean, of course he is, because why would there be any guards standing watch around a gathering of the most influential men in Westeros? It just makes sense, don't question it. Meanwhile, after a solid dad and daughter heart-to-heart conversation in the crypt, Viserys comes to the conclusion that his daughter Rhaenyra should be named the true heir of the Iron Throne, cementing her as the first female queen ruler of Westeros. All the while, there's a pretty cool Easter egg in the background of a huge dragon skeleton. Now this is actually Balerion the Black Dread, the largest dragon in Targaryen history. In the original books, Balerion helped Aemon Targaryen take full control of the Seven Kingdoms and made House Targaryen the reason why their family sits atop the Iron Throne today. Also, in this crypt with the skull in the background, Viserys tells his daughter about how winter is coming, that in Aegon's dream he saw death coming, and that all seven kingdoms must band together to fight what's to come, or it'll be the end of civilization as we know it. He named this dream A Song of Ice and Fire, and it's pretty clear that this is a nod to the coming of the White Walkers. In the final scene, we see multiple houses take their oaths to Queen Rhaenyra. An Easter egg here we see is Rickon Stark, House of Winterfell, taking his oath to serve the Queen. Now this only adds to the pretty long list of Easter eggs and references we've seen throughout the first episode alone, and I for one am super excited to see how many more we get throughout the season. Well, that does it for this summary. I personally loved the first episode because they did a great job of setting up storylines, and the acting, production, and CGI were top tier. It almost feels like we can forget about how they ended the original show in 2019. Almost. What was your favorite part about the first episode? Let me know in the comments down below, and definitely let me know about any Easter eggs you saw or enjoyed that I didn't cover in this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and make sure to do me a favor and like this video and subscribe to TV Wow for more weekly Game of Thrones content. I'll catch you all in the next video.